Hey Salem, it's me again. I hope you're not getting tired of me yet. This is Bill Legault from Salem Digest here at Salem Access Television on Derby Street, and we are continuing our series of candidate interviews for the preliminary election. I'm saying that nice and slow every time now, because when I said that on the first few elections, I said it too fast, and I sounded like a gibberish idiot, which some of you probably expect anyway. Today we have Belle Steadman with us. Belle is a candidate in Ward 1. She ran for councilor at large 2 years ago, and this is her second attempt at office. Welcome to SATV. Belle, how you doing?
Thank you. Oh, good, thank you.
Okay, good.
Yes.
So we're going to jump right into the questions.
Okay.
And we'll go at our own pace, and we'll see where it leads. Second run. This is your second run for elective office. What's the motivation? Putting your name on the ballot is a big move. It gets you out there. What motivates you to do that?
Well, I've always been a strong advocate and very passionate about the issues that impact the quality of life of our neighborhood and of Salem as a whole. I wanted to highlight these issues, and I want them to be resolved either, by their own or by any administration or any person in the office. And also, this year is very interesting because Ward 1 has become a hotspot for planned housing development, which would potentially burden our old historic district and our old roads, our old infrastructure. And I feel that there's a need for a strong representation, a strong voice for the residents of Ward 1, because it's lacking. Let me explain the lacking part of it. The example of this is the reconfiguration of 4th Ave. We were not consulted. We are the ones that are directly impacted by this change. And yet, we woke up one morning, there are double bike lanes, there are lines going through and forth, further confusing drivers and pedestrians. They also put objects that can damage cars, that can potentially cause fatal accident, and it's a cause of a lot of near-head collisions. So I'm putting my name in that ballot because I know that I can represent the ward very well for having lived there for 20 years and having been president of Salem for 32 years.
So you touched almost immediately on the planned housing development, as you called it. And there are lots of housing developments being proposed all across the city.
Right.
There are some very specifically in Ward 1. Is there a particular one that you want to address?
Well, first of all, it's the, Shetland.
Yeah.
They're talking about residential development, and if that happens, a chunk of our commercial tax base will be gone. Also, the Fort Lee Terrace. My compassion for the old people there, the veterans, the low-income people, I've been talking to them, and they've been promised a lot of things. Like, they're going to be help moving out, going to be help moving in, and they've been told that it's going to be only 3 floors. And we have the plan, and, I've paid attention to this one, and I'm really concerned to where this is going to go. Also because our roads are very narrow. They're, 300 years old? And our infrastructure, it's all the burden of that on our little historic district. I don't think that could handle the additional population that's going to come.
Okay. So you've been talking to the folks up there at that's Fort Terrace. I remember that when I was a little kid. And mostly they're single units, single story.
Mm-hmm.
What is it that you'd like to see there?
I'd like to see that it's upgraded because it's near the coast. I'd like to see an elevation to it and stuff, but I'd like to see that these people are taken care of if they're going to be moved to another location. I'd like to know that they are really going to be taken care of.
So you want to make sure that they get moved.
Yeah.
They should know where they need to be moved.
Yes, yes.
And then guaranteed, most of them, you assume, would want to come back.
Yeah. And Bill, there's a 107-year-old person
Yes.
there.
Yes.
You know, and that really bothers me a lot.
So you're concerned with the height of the land as far as the flood zone?
Well, every storm, there's like a flood out there, especially near Collins Cove. So I think it's because it's more like a wetland or a catch basin maybe for the cove. That's why it's doing that, but yeah.
Well, it's very low-lying land.
Yes, yes.
So that speaks into not just a Ward 1 issue. That actually speaks into a citywide
Yes.
issue, which goes beyond that.
Yes.
So do you look at this as more of a citywide issue than just a Ward 1 issue?
Also, yes, because most of our area is waterfront.
Yes.
And I'll be talking about that later on in a
Yes.
second.
You can jump into, we don't have to go in the order. You jump in,
Yes.
you're the candidate.
That's right.
You jump into anything you want to jump into, and I'll catch up. It may take me a minute,
Okay.
but I'll catch up. So there's also rumors of other housing in your area, and of course you have the Point, which is very dense. A lot of housing over there. Do you want to see housing over there at Shetland
No.
at all? You don't want to see any of that?
No, not at all. We've been canvassing in that area, and most of the people are really concerned about parking spaces. If you see it, they're all double parked, and some of them park way out away from their house and they walk. And if you put another building with how many units there are, that's further burdening that area.
So you'd like it to remain a commercial space
Yes.
as is?
Yes.
Or some modification into some different commercial uses?
I'd like to see it as a commercial space because that would also increase our tax revenue, and that would protect us in the long run.
Okay, all right. So we kind of have worked a little bit into question 2 already, which happens.
Yes.
So, Ward 1's very diverse as far as population. It's the most diverse population in Salem. It's also the densest population in Salem in the Point section. Derby Street's rather dense too, but you got different types of housing. You got the tenement style housing, the really big time multifamily housing here. Derby Street, you also have multifamily housing, but on a smaller scale, 2 families, maybe 3 and 4 family places. Then you have the Willows, which is really mostly 1 family homes. So it's almost like 3 distinct neighborhoods. Do you think that each of those neighborhoods has its own unique problems that need to be addressed separately, or do you look at it as a whole?
They're all on the same category, problem-wise. The Point neighborhood, the historic Derby, in the historic Willows neighborhood, the major issue, of course, is overdevelopment, as you said. These are small little spaces, and packing them like sardines is not going to work. Parking spaces alone, people want parking spaces. People want, the traffic alone sometimes on the Derby Street and Congress Street, those streets can't hold a lot of traffic, and it's very hypocritical for us to be praising environmental efforts to combat climate change, and yet here we are overpopulating the city, which means increase in pollution, increase in trash, increase in sewage, increase in the burden of our old antiquated infrastructure, increase in the need for first responders, name it. It's just not good for our climate and stuff. And the second issue that I'm going to touch is coastal resiliency. We have to look into coastal resiliency, which is a good thing at the Willows neighborhood because we formed a committee called the Seawall and Flood Advisory Committee. I have to commend them because Governor Baker gave us $950,000 for the seawall to be more strengthened, and that's what they worked on the whole year. So, and that is good, and I hope that we can do that with Collins Collins Cove, and we also have Juniper Beach and Palmer Cove.
Yes.
What they plan to do, I'll talk about Juniper Cove first. What they plan to do in Juniper Cove is strengthen that wall because in 2018, there's a big winter storm that came and the surge came and destroyed properties. And this time, I think they're going to elevate the walls and remove the sand from the wall so that the surf won't just roll and crash in. And that's good. And also we have to look into protecting the wetlands, the lands that surround the area, the marsh and stuff. And that's what they're doing at Collins Cove, I suppose, you know.
Just the salt marsh.
Yes. But my idea is that if you plant those salt marsh, maybe give the neighborhood that's around them, give them the responsibility to take care of it. You know, if they think that it's dying or something, do something, you know. Teach them, educate them to protect the marsh.
So incorporate the neighbors into
the plan of protecting the marshland. Also, the one thing also that in the Philippines, because we're also surrounded by water, the big boulders. We could put big boulders onto the cove to protect them, protect the land from surge and stuff. And the third one I'd like to touch is, did we touch overdevelopment?
You can always touch on development more. That's a buzzword. People like to hear that.
Yes, and we touched coastal resiliency, and there's a third issue that I'd like to touch. But we'll move on.
Well, we could just
we could touch that later on.
You touched on traffic quite a bit.
Yes.
And with everybody, you're the fifth candidate in here today, and although it isn't part of the formal 3 questions, they've all touched on traffic issues. Now, traffic issues affect a neighborhood, of course, but they also affect, if a traffic issue in your neighborhood affects the neighborhood over. It affects the next neighborhood, affects the next ward, affects the downtown, and affects the neighboring communities. If we make traffic changes in Salem, especially on an entrance corridor, it affects every community on the other side of that entrance corridor. So any traffic changes that we make in Salem has far-reaching effects, the butterfly effect, if you want to call it that.
Yes.
You know, they put in the bike lanes, they put in the armadillos. That not only affects you guys, that affects people down the street. What do you see as a solution as far as traffic coming in and out of the Willows, especially on Essex Street and Derby Street?
There wasn't really a problem before, not like this. You know, but they said it's for traffic calming or for slowing the speed of the drivers. What we were asking is a temporary speed bump, which can be removed when it's off-season, like winter and stuff. We didn't ask for this. Yeah. You know, the double bike lanes, the narrowing of the 4th Ave, and the lines after lines and after lines, that confuses everyone. And I truly feel that, you know, and I told this to the Traffic Commission, you have put our lives in danger. And it really did, because in our family alone, we had experienced about more than 5 near head-on collisions. And if you ask a lot of people around that neighborhood, they did. And you know what? We sound off on our Willows neighborhood page.
Yes, you do.
And do you see that?
I do. I see it. Yes.
Yes, and that's very concerning. Granted that we are guilty too of speeding sometimes.
It's a main issue on Derby Street for years.
Yes, but we wanted the temporary speed bumps, not that, because then now people don't even know what it is for now, because it's multi-purpose. I've seen skateboarders, I've seen strollers, I've seen mopeds and bikes and people walking, and there's no sign. I don't know if there's a sign now, but there wasn't a sign then that it's just for bikes. So it's not really helping us. And the armadillos, as you said, how many tires have been busted because of that? And there's a question of that fatal accident too.
are still under investigation by the state police?
Yes. So, those things. So then I said, what if that armadillo is not there? Even if he didn't touch that, if there's no armadillo, maybe it could save his life. We don't know. But putting an object like that on the road is very dangerous, especially when it's raining out. Have you seen it when it's raining? It blends in with the road because the white strip blends in with the yellow line, and you think it's not there. And if you go just a single side swipe like this, God knows what would happen.
So you would rather,
go back to it.
You'd rather be without the armadillos.
Yep.
The posts are there, they're bendable, but you're not against bike lanes, you just think it's too big.
It's double bike lanes. And I'm old-fashioned. One way here, one way there. And it's always been like that, and we didn't have any problem. All we did is one complaint that, there's a lot of speeders, and what we're asking is the temporary speed bumps.
Okay, like they have Chestnut Street has them.
Yes.
They just put them on Valley Street, right? They just put them on Valley Street. But there have been complaints about those up on Valley Street,
because I think they have the white thing, too.
I think the white things are part and parcel with those. They put them on either side.
Regardless, let's focus on my
you just want
on my ward.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So you don't have a problem with bike lanes. You just have the problem with the way that was put in.
Yes.
It's too obtrusive. It's too busy. There's too much going on, and it complicates things.
And also, one more thing, they put parking spaces where going out of the Winter Island, the cars going out winter have to really go out to see the oncoming traffic, because those that are parked away impedes their visibility. So that's near head-on collisions too sometimes, because people are going this way and they're trying to go out and they couldn't see,
Okay. So now you brought up, basically we're right down there by Winter Island. So not part of the questions.
Yep.
How do you feel about where Winter Island is right now? Do you have any thoughts on what you'd like to see there?
You mean the old hangar?
Yeah, the whole
Commercial.
shebang. The hangar, the barracks, the beach.
I'd like to see that commercialized.
Commercialized.
Yeah, not housing. Oh, please, no housing development there. I'd like to see it commercialized, because the more businesses we could encourage to come here to Salem, the more revenues we have, the more happier we are, and the more steadier our property taxes.
So business, some sort of commercial operation in the hangar, maybe in the old barracks. We've had restaurants there in the past.
Before.
Yes, quite a while back.
I think it's too far away from, because tourists wanted to mingle right in the downtown area.
Yes.
So I think what I mean by commercial is like a boating thing. Or the camping gears and stuff like that. And maybe rental. What is that now?
Kayaks and boats.
Kayaks and boats, yes.
I'll rent a kayak.
Yes.
All right, so and now right next door, of course, is Footprint, and they have this 40-plus acres of land that they want to do something with. There was a proposition floated that really didn't work. They're still working behind the scenes and somewhat above the board to figure out what they want there. What does Belle Steadman want to see there? How do you envision that site?
I want to zone it as waterfront industrial overlay district. I've traveled and I've seen how it is made and stuff. I'd like to see it like a multi-purpose, not housing development, of course. I want to stress that. I want it industrialized, waterfront, meaning restaurants, like Promenade des Anglais in Nice, France.
Okay, well, that's a big step.
Well,
yeah.
It's 40 acres.
Yes.
Nothing is impossible. We have, hopefully we have the money.
Well, I mean, it's private property. It's their money.
How?
It's Footprint.
Yeah, but I'd really like it to be, because again, as I said, it's Shetland park turns into a residential development and a chunk of that commercial tax base is gone, this would be a good replacement for it.
Okay.
Plain and simple.
All right. Now, of course, the ferry terminal, the ship terminal, would remain, which would
Yes.
bring business in. Now,
Hopefully cruise ships. Isn't that a deep water too?
that's a deep water. We've had
Yes.
cruise ships there in the
Cruise
past,
ships,
and
yeah.
the plan is for more. There's plans to build a terminal there for the cruise ships passengers.
good.
So that they don't just have,
Yeah.
that you're not just getting off where there's nothing. Rest areas, gift shops, maybe a small restaurant,
yeah.
coffee shop.
And also maybe like a carrier for packages and stuff
Well,
by the ocean.
I'm sure I'm sure there's a chance for some cargo type
Yes,
things.
yes.
But the terminal will include pickups for the trolley.
Yes.
Pickups for taxis,
I would
Lyft
love
and
that.
Uber, but also for buses. Tour buses coming in. The cruise ship may want to bus people in, bus people out as they need to, which would reduce some of the traffic.
Yes.
But obviously you don't want those buses coming up Essex, down up Derby, or down Essex.
They should have a reserved parking somewhere in that 40 acres.
Well, that would be part of the terminal, I think. But how do the buses would probably have to come in off of Bridge Street and then down Webb. So Webb Street is Ward 1 and
Yeah.
Ward 2.
Yes. Half.
And it takes quite a beating.
Yeah. It's a little. Mine is to the Collins mine.
Yeah.
I mean, my Ward 1 is out that little piece of Collins Cove.
Yep.
And half over here, Essex Street, and then Ward 2 is half that way.
So Webb Street takes quite a beating anyway. A lot of traffic. They took a lot of truck traffic during the construction. How do you see the traffic playing out there? Do you see Webb Street improvements coming along? Do you have any idea, any thoughts on that?
We need improvement on the Derby and Webb Street, and even Webb Street all the way, although almost to the Bridge Street, it's all paved.
Right, they just did a little.
It's election time, so.
Well, election time, there's advantages to
Yeah,
election years
that's right, yes.
for the constituents.
That's why I said if we need something done, we should ask now, because it's election time.
Yes. So how about the impact of those buses and the terminal and the stuff on the senior housing there? Do you think that would be advantageous to that, or just something that we have to deal with?
We have to improve the roads first. And foremost, before they improve the roads, make sure that the pipes are updated. Because
okay.
the history of us here is we pave the road and then later on it's being dug up because, water break here, water break there. But I'm not contradicting myself. I'm really against the housing. I wanted it to remain, but upgraded. Fort Lee Terrace, but upgraded.
And you want it to remain strictly as
Yes.
subsidized housing?
Yes, because
affordable.
now this is the fear of the residents in Fort Terrace. When they come back, I think there's a certain period that is going to be Salem housing, and then it becomes Beacon, or it becomes Beacon right away.
If that project moves forward, yeah. I mean, I don't think
Yes.
that's not a done deal yet, but yeah, at a certain point.
Yes, and that's what the concern is. Can we afford it?
Should we turn it over at all?
So they need a lawyer.
Are you comfortable with the private-public development there, or would you rather just leave it public and not have a private entity involved?
Public.
wanna-
We need it. Oh, and that's my third item that
I
I want
knew
to
we'd
talk
get there.
about. It's affordable housing. The number of affordable housing here doesn't meet the growing needs of the growing population. I just wish that, because the list goes on to like 3 to 4 years waiting list for the Salem Housing Authority. I have friends there that are on that waiting list, so I know what it is. I wish that there's a way that we can, like the churches, the abandoned churches and stuff. I'm for it, the accessory dwelling. I'm for that too. I'm for making abandoned places more, low affordable, not luxury units and stuff.
Right.
Like what Jessica Herbert is doing. I love that. she preserves the integrity and historical value of the building, even though she's changing the inside of it. I love that. And I hope that they can do that with the churches, but low affordable, not, high-end.
Well, affordable is such a funny word these days because most people that look at it and that really need affordable housing have trouble affording the affordable housing. It's really not that affordable. Would you try to find a way, would you be interested in trying to find a way to change, you'd have to work with state legislatures to change the definition of affordable housing, to change the limits down a little bit so people can actually afford them?
Yes, affordable for me is, which is ridiculous now, but I think 900 to 1,000. Let's give low tax credit for the developers to develop things like that. But see, right now, all these developers wanted to do when they develop is get their money back. I just wish there's a saint out there that doesn't do that.
Well, if you look at historically, we've built some really large, the Loring Towers, the Salem Heights, Pequot Highlands type buildings, which we don't build anymore.
There are 715 units of Salem Housing Authority manages.
Right.
And those are all the high rises and things like that. And and since 2007, no affordable housing hasn't been built.
It's been a long time. It's been a long time. Most of that is state driven.
And the Salem Housing Authority, since 1991, they haven't built any new housing. So it's about time now, I think, that we should.
I think that was the housing at the Y that they built when they bought the Y building on Essex Street. They bought
1991.
I think that's their newest units.
Yeah.
It has been a long time, but so you'd like to see more affordable housing.
Yes.
Salem Housing Authority does own some land up on Highland Avenue. I don't know if they're ever going to use that or sell it and buy some land elsewhere. Can you think of a place in Salem where you could put some affordable housing beyond Leaf Fort Terrace? It's already there.
We have abandoned buildings, government buildings, that could be, that we could preserve the integrity, the historical facade of it, and then put low-income housing in there. I don't think we have any more spaces.
It's tough.
With this administration looking into densifying the neighborhood, every blade of grass is not safe.
How many units do you think would be acceptable to most at Leaf Fort Terrace? I mean, it's really.
I don't know how many.
There's very few there because they're single units. Just in a public development, if we were to put 100 units there, would you think that would be too much?
100 units? Where are we?
At Leaf Fort Terrace again, down there.
That's a small space. Because then if you say 100, it might go up.
It would have to go up 2 floors, possibly 3 floors, in the same horseshoe configuration,
if it stays
without expanding the footprint.
If it stays with the Salem Housing Authority, but if it goes to the Beacon, the developer, is there a promise for them to make it affordable?
I think there'll be a promise, but again, what is affordable exactly, and how do you maintain that? I've always had a problem with the whole affordable limits. I think they're too high.
Yes, that's right.
But that's just the way that is. So, in your ideal world, what's your vision for Ward 1 over the next 2 years?
In my ideal world, I'd like to see that our infrastructures are updated, the pipes updated, our roads. Right now, it's one way here, one way there, but I wanted it upgraded, and no housing development.
No more housing.
No more housing development. It remains as well. They're beautifying the Willows, which I love, and upgrading the bridge. I heard they're going to put it much higher so that the surf won't keep banging at it, and in a year term it's gone again. So I think it will be narrower and taller. That's what I heard. And more grants should be, like the seawall on.
Sure.
All our seawalls are crumbling, by the way, so we upgrade the seawalls. Protect the wetlands. We're on wetlands anyways, Collins Cove and stuff like that. I don't want them to build on wetlands.
Technically, I think we're sitting on wetlands here. This is landfill.
Yeah,
Yes.
yes.
Okay.
Yes. I'm very green. I'm an avid gardener, and I'm also into environment, if you will, because I'm a scientist. I've seen it. Climate change actually are brought by people, so we have to straighten up our act and cut off, like the usage of lights. If in a big building, shut them off if you're not using it. Find renewable energy, and in turn protect the natural habitat and our cultural resources.
All right.
Yes.
Well, Belle, it's been nice.
Thank you.
Thank you. That wasn't painful now, was it?
No.
No, not at all. All right, guys, thanks very much to Belle Steadman, candidate for Ward 1 City Council. This is Bill from Salem Digest. We'll be signing off now. Don't forget to vote in the preliminary on the 14th of September next month. Thanks again, Belle, and guys, we'll see you with another candidate soon.
Thank you.
That's it.